They say numbers are lifeless, cold, nothing more than lines of ink or pixels of light. But I don't believe that anymore, because I've seen what happens when numbers begin to whisper, when data stops being static and starts becoming alive. And if you stay with me long enough, I'll show you what those whispers revealed. It began, as most late night confessions do, with silence. Picture this: an apartment in Toronto, curtains drawn tight against the winter, the hum of a heater that always sounded tired, like it wanted to give up, a desk scattered with empty mugs and half-scribbled notes, and me hunched over a glowing screen. I had been trying affiliate marketing for months with nothing to show. Blog posts that felt invisible, links that sat untouched, a dashboard that mocked me with zeros. There's something cruel about those zeros. They don't scream at you, they don't taunt you, they just sit there, silent, unmoving, cold, like a sky with no stars. I refreshed again and again, hoping the numbers would shift, that something would flicker into life, but the emptiness held. And in that emptiness, doubts began to crawl. Maybe affiliate marketing was a scam. Maybe I wasn't cut out for it. Maybe all those YouTubers talking about passive income were just better liars than me. But then, somewhere between the caffeine jitters and the half-dreaming state, you enter at 2 ampere. I saw it. An ad. The kind of ad you almost dismiss. Except the words clung to me. Stop guessing. Let AI choose your winning product. At first, I laughed. Out loud. A bitter laugh. Because I had seen promises before. Earn while you sleep. 1 click to freedom. Guaranteed viral sales. They were all lies. Shiny illusions for desperate people like me. So why did this one feel different? Maybe it was the way the ad didn't scream. It didn't flash red urgency banners. It spoke softly, calmly, with charts, graphs, and data flowing like rivers of light. Not hype, not screaming testimonials, just patterns. And somewhere inside me, something shifted. Because patterns felt different. Patterns felt real. I sat there staring at the screen, heart caught between 2 beats. One voice whispered, "It's another trap. Don't waste more money." Another whispered louder, "But what if it isn't? What if this is the lens you've been missing?" Because up until then, I had been stargazing without a telescope, guessing which lights in the sky mattered, blind to the constellations that only reveal themselves when magnified. And this tool, it looked like a telescope, one that promised not to invent new stars, but to show me the ones that were already burning just too faint for me to see. I hesitated. My finger hovered over the subscribe button. And then, with the quiet finality of someone too tired to resist, I clicked. And so began the night when numbers learned to whisper. That's where the story begins. Not with wealth, not with success, but with a tired man, a glowing screen, and a question that wouldn't let him sleep. What if AI could see patterns in the noise? What if the zeros on my dashboard weren't silence, but static waiting to be tuned into a signal? And what if, hidden in that signal, was the product I had been chasing all along? I once believed affiliate marketing was simple. Naive, maybe, but simple. You just pick a product, write about it, share the link, wait for the magic. That was the formula in my head. I pictured people browsing, finding my little corner of the internet, nodding to themselves, and saying, "Yes, that's exactly what I need." Then they'd click, they'd buy, and I'd watch the commissions roll in. It was supposed to feel effortless. like planting seeds and letting the rain do the rest. But the garden I planted never grew. At first, I picked products I liked personally. There was a set of LED lights I had wrapped around my desk. I thought, if I like this, surely others will too. So I wrote a glowing review, filled with pictures of my desk glowing purple and blue. I hit publish, waiting for the world to agree with me. No one did. Then I tried a phone stand, a quirky thing I saw on Instagram. Flexible, bendy, fun to look at. I thought people scrolling their feeds will love this. I crafted clever copy, pushed it into my blog, linked it everywhere. Again, silence. After that, I tried something even stranger. An ergonomic pillow shaped like a prop from a sci-fi movie. It promised better sleep, better posture, better mornings. I wrote about it like it was a miracle. But miracles, it seemed, didn't convert. Each time I checked my Amazon Associates dashboard, it mocked me. Zeros lined up like soldiers. 0 clicks. 0 conversions. 0 income. Refreshing the page felt like pulling the handle on a slot machine where the wheels were always blank. Hope became a superstition. Maybe this refresh would change. Maybe the numbers just needed time. But time kept slipping, and the zeros stayed. So I changed my strategy. If personal taste didn't work, maybe popularity would. I dove into TikTok trends, viral gadgets that everyone seemed to talk about, mini projectors, kitchen tools that folded like origami, toys that spun and lit up. These must sell, I told myself. Why else would they be everywhere? I plastered links across posts, wrote fast reviews, tried to ride the wave. And for a moment, there was movement. Clicks, views, a flicker of traffic. But conversions? Almost none. It was like watching fireworks. Bright, loud, beautiful, and then gone, leaving only smoke. I had been chasing noise, not signals. But back then, I couldn't see the difference. It felt personal, the way failure kept circling me. I'd wake up, open my laptop, check the numbers, and feel a little piece of myself shrink. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Maybe I wasn't clever enough. Maybe affiliate marketing was just another lottery for people luckier than me. It's a strange kind of loneliness, this silence from an audience that doesn't exist. You build a stage, put up the lights, rehearse your lines, and when you step out, the seats are empty. And the echo of your own effort feels heavier than the effort itself. Then came the ad. A YouTube video that flickered into life while I was too tired to skip. I almost clicked away until the words caught me. AI-powered product research. Stop guessing. Start earning. On the screen, dashboards glowing with color, graphs like constellations, heat maps shifting like weather systems. The voiceover was calm, not loud. No wild promises. No fake testimonials. Just data flowing like a quiet river. I leaned forward. It wasn't shouting, "Be rich overnight." It was whispering, "See what's already here." Something inside me stirred, because up until that night, I had been wandering in the dark, grabbing at lights, thinking they were stars, but maybe they were only sparks, illusions, fireflies. And this tool, it looked like a telescope, a way to see constellations, to connect dots I didn't even know were dots. I remember my hesitation. The screen glowed, the Pro Plum button waited, my cursor hovered, my heart was split. One part whispered, "You're about to waste more money. Don't do it." The other whispered louder, "What if this time is different? What if this is the missing piece?" The tiredness inside me tipped the scale, and with a click, I crossed the line. I didn't know it yet, but that was the night I stopped chasing stars and started charting them. The first time I logged into the AI dashboard, it felt less like software and more like stepping into an observatory. The screen came alive with constellations. Numbers shimmered like stars, keywords clustered like galaxies, reviews spread across the page like scattered stardust. It was beautiful and overwhelming. At first, excitement surged. I thought, this is it. This is the telescope I've been missing, the map, the lens. For the first time in months, I wasn't staring at zeros. I was staring at possibilities. Charts pulsed with color. Search volumes rose and fell like tides. Trend lines arched upward like comets streaking across a black sky. I leaned closer, like a stargazer afraid to blink in case the vision disappeared. It felt powerful, dangerous even, as though I had stumbled into secret knowledge. Like insider trading, but instead of stocks, it was backpacks, microphones, and kitchen blenders. But excitement never travels alone. Confusion soon arrived. The AI didn't point to a single shining product. It scattered dozens across my screen. Wireless earbuds, standing desks, ergonomic chairs, mid-range microphones, even a heated CapAd that looked ridiculous and yet, according to the data people loved. I frowned. I wanted clarity, a crown jewel, a golden arrow pointing. Pick this, you win. Instead, the AI offered constellations, leaving me to connect the stars. And confusion whispered, what if you can't? Then suspicion crept in. I remembered every scam I had fallen for. The shiny tools that promised to automate everything. The courses that swore they held the missing secret. The webinars that drained my wallet but never delivered. What if this was the same? What if the charts were illusions, pretty patterns that meant nothing? I stared at the dashboard, suspicious, tired, feeling the weight of deja vu. Because failure has a smell, and this room smelled like it. But beneath suspicion, something else stirred. Curiosity. Because even if it was a trick, the data felt alive. The graphs pulsed like a heartbeat. The keyword clusters glowed like galaxies waiting to be charted. And the heat maps shifted like weather systems you could almost predict if you just watched long enough. It was hypnotic. I found myself lost in it. Forgetting time, adjusting filters, narrowing niches. Clicks became constellations. Reviews became meteor showers. Conversion rates twinkled like distant suns. Hours slipped like sand through glass. I felt like a gambler again. But the dice weren't numbers on the table. They were patterns on a screen. Each filter I changed was another roll. Each keyword I compared was another spin. I wasn't throwing coins into a wishing well anymore. I was listening for echoes in a cave of data. And somewhere between the confusion, suspicion, and late-night fatigue, a quieter feeling rose. Hope. It wasn't the loud, desperate hope of this will make me rich overnight. It was fragile, like a candle flaming wind. But it was there. Because for the first time, I wasn't blind. I wasn't stabbing in the dark. I was seeing something even if I didn't yet understand what it meant. And that feeling, that small, flickering hope, kept me staring at the screen long after midnight had bled into morning. When the heater finally shut off with a sigh, I realized hours had passed. The world outside had shifted from black to the gray of pre-dawn. I rubbed my eyes. My apartment was silent. My coffee had gone cold. But inside me, something was restless. Excitement, confusion, suspicion, hope, 4 voices, all whispering at once. And I knew whether this AI was a scam or salvation, I couldn't stop now. Because I had seen the constellations, and once you see them, you can't go back to staring at an empty sky. The revelation didn't crash into me like thunder. It arrived like dawn, quiet, subtle, but impossible to ignore once you notice the light creeping in. I realized something that night as I sat staring at the shifting patterns on my screen. AI was not a fortune teller. It was a mirror. For weeks, maybe months, I had been searching for magic. Some button to press, some secret product, some shortcut that will finally make all the zeros on my dashboard flip to ones. But the AI didn't give me magic. It gave me patterns. And patterns are not magic. They are truths we're usually too impatient to see. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the heater groan awake again. That's when it sank in. The problem wasn't affiliate marketing. The problem wasn't even the tools. The problem was me. I had been chasing fireworks, things that flared for a moment, dazzling, but left behind only smoke. I had been addicted to noise, not signals. And the AI, in its cold, lifeless numbers, was showing me the signals I had ignored. I began to trace the lines. One chart showed me a steady incline for mid-range microphones, not explosive, not viral, but rising week after week. Another graph revealed ergonomic chairs, boring, heavy, unsexy products that people bought again and again. And then there were the heat maps. Demand for standing desks glowing brighter with every search, like a constellation coming into view. I realized something humbling. I had been running from boring, but boring was where the money lived. Pain sells more than pleasure. Stability outlasts trendiness. The most ordinary objects often solve the most urgent problems. I whispered those sentences to myself like mantras, each one landing heavier than the last, because they were obvious. So obvious that I had overlooked them in my frantic search for the next big thing. The AI wasn't replacing me. It wasn't here to think for me. It was reflecting what was already there, patterns that had been waiting patiently for me to notice. It was holding up a mirror, not to the market alone, but to my mistakes. I thought back to all the products I had wasted time on. The glowing lights, the bendy stands, the sci-fi pillow. I had picked them because they excited me, because they were fun to write about, because they looked like they should sell, but no one had asked for them. They were sparks, not stars. And now, looking at the AI's quiet patterns, I finally saw what I had refused to admit. People don't buy sparks. They buy solutions. That realization hit me harder than any loss I'd seen on my dashboard. Because it wasn't just about affiliate marketing anymore. It was about life. How often do we chase the loud, the flashy, the trendy, while ignoring the steady truths right in front of us? How often do we choose sparks over stars? The heater clicked off again. The silence returned. I stared at the dashboard, at the graphs that no longer looked random but purposeful, at the clusters of data that no longer felt like noise but maps. And in that silence, I admitted something I hadn't been brave enough to say before. It was never about finding a shortcut. It was about learning how to see. The AI wasn't showing me a miracle. It was teaching me how to read the night sky. That's when the phrase formed in my head, clear and sharp. AI is only good when you control it. Left alone, it's just lines, graphs, and charts. But in your hands, it's a lens, a telescope, a way to bring constellations into focus. And for the first time, I felt less like a gambler chasing luck and more like a navigator charting stars. The first time I used AI, I wanted shortcuts. The second time, I wanted clarity, and that made all the difference. I opened the dashboard again, but this time, I didn't ask, which product will make me rich? Instead, I asked, which product is steady? Which one solves something real? Because by then, I had stopped believing in fireworks. I was searching for constellations. Step 1 was choosing a niche. I could have chased trends again, but I knew better now. So I picked something closer to home, something I understood because I lived it every single day. Work from home gear. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't flashy, but it was real. Millions of people were stuck at kitchen tables, working with laptops propped on stacks of books, fighting bad lighting and muffled audio. I was one of them, and that made the niche feel honest. Step 2 was validation. I typed in the keywords. Microphone for remote work. Best webcam under $100. Affordable standing desk. The charts shifted, and there it was. Microphones glowing on the heat map. Not the expensive, professional studio kind. Not the cheap plastic junk that broke after a month. But the middle ground, steady sellers, consistent reviews, demand rising like the slow curve of dawn. I stared at it, almost amused. A microphone. Not a gadget. Not a trend. Just a microphone. So ordinary. So boring. And yet, so right. Step 3 was checking with my own eyes. I read the reviews, listened to how people describe their pain. My coworkers can hear me on Zoom. The sound is muffled. I just want something clear, simple, reliable. Pain points. Real, human, ordinary problems. And I realized this was it. Not sparks, not fireworks. A star, steady, burning, guiding. So I made my move. I wrote a blog post. Not a flashy one, not clickbait, just honest. A title that said exactly what it needed to. The best mid-range microphone for remote work. Inside, I compared 3 models, side by side. Pros and cons. Price versus quality. I didn't oversell. I didn't scream must buy now. I whispered the way the AI had whispered to me. This one solves the problem. That's why it matters. Then I recorded a video. Not in a studio. Not with perfect lighting. Just me, my laptop, my face tired but sincere. I spoke softly, clearly, as if I was talking to a friend across the table. I showed the microphone I bought for myself. Demonstrated the difference in sound. Explained why, according to the data, this model outlasted the hype of others. No tricks. No gloss. Just honesty, backed by patterns. When I hit publish, it didn't feel like gambling anymore. It felt like charting a map, plotting a constellation, laying down a trail of breadcrumbs I could actually follow. For the first time, I wasn't chasing. I was building. And the silence that followed didn't scare me this time. Because I knew seas need time, stars need distance. And some patterns only reveal themselves if you wait long enough. The first week, nothing happened. Silence. A silence I knew too well. Every morning I woke, opened the dashboard, refreshed the page, and stared. Zeros. Lined up, patient, unmoving, like stars refusing to appear in a cloudy sky. Part of me feared I had been wrong again. That all the careful patterns, all the hours spent writing and recording were just another elaborate illusion. But another part whispered, wait, give it time. Stars don't reveal themselves all at once. So I waited. Then, one night, the silence broke. A ping. A tiny number appeared where the zero had been. $4.87. It was small, ridiculously small. Barely enough for a coffee. But to me, it felt like a constellation igniting. I stared at it, unmoving, afraid that if I blinked, it would vanish. Because it wasn't just money. It was proof that someone, somewhere, had read my words, watched my video, clicked my link, and trusted me enough to buy. For the first time, I wasn't invisible. The next day, another ping. Then another, each one small $3 here, $6 there, but steady. Like drops of water filling a cup. Like stars slowly appearing as the night deepened. By the end of 2 weeks, the silence had transformed into a quiet rhythm. 17 sales, around $70 in commissions. Not a fortune, not viral, but clean, honest, real. I leaned back in my chair and let it sink in. This wasn't luck. This wasn't gambling. This wasn't chasing noise. This was data becoming action. Action becoming trust. Trust becoming results. And the feeling of finally knowing, of walking with a map instead of stumbling in the dark, was worth more than every dollar combined. Because it wasn't about the $70. It was about what it meant. It meant I wasn't lost anymore. I thought back to the old me, refreshing dashboards, hoping for miracles, writing reviews for gadgets no one wanted, chasing sparks that burned out before I could touch them, and now, sitting in the same chair, at the same desk, in the same dimly lit apartment, I realized something had changed. Not the world, not the market, me. I had stopped guessing, stopped hoping blindly, stopped chasing fireworks, and instead, I had followed a pattern, and the pattern had rewarded me. The heater clicked off, silence filled the room again. But this time, the silence didn't mock me. It held me, like a sky after the first star appears quiet, but promising more. I knew there would be bigger numbers someday, maybe months later, maybe years, but even if there weren't, even if all I ever earned was $70, it would still matter, because clarity is worth more than cash. Confidence is worth more than commissions. And the peace of knowing you're no longer wandering blind, that is priceless. If you've ever been like me, sitting at a desk long after midnight, staring at dashboards that refuse to move, refreshing like a gambler pulling the same lever on a broken machine. If you've ever felt that loneliness when the internet feels infinite, but your voice feels unheard, then maybe you know what I mean. I used to think affiliate marketing was about cleverness, about guessing right, about spotting the hot trend before anyone else. But cleverness didn't save me. What saved me was clarity. And clarity came from data. Cold, lifeless numbers until you learn how to listen. Because data doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you're quiet enough, patient enough, humble enough, you start to hear the patterns. Patterns that say, this is what people truly want. This is where the need lives. This is where the pain waits to be solved. Maybe you felt the sting of chasing sparks, gadgets that looked bright but left you burned. Maybe you've known the emptiness of publishing a post you worked on for hours, only to see it vanish into the void. Maybe, like me, you've wondered if affiliate marketing is just a cruel game designed to break beginners. But I can tell you, it isn't. The problem isn't the system, it's the blindness. And blindness can be cured with vision. For me, AI was that lens, not magic, not a miracle, just a telescope that revealed the stars I had been too close or too careless to see. If you've ever been like me, maybe you don't need another guru promising secrets. Maybe you don't need another expensive course or another late-night webinar that tells you what you already know. Maybe you just need better data. That's what shifted everything for me. And it might shift something for you too. I'm not here to promise riches. I'm not here to tell you the AI will do everything for you. It won't, it can't, but it can reflect the truth that's already there. It can guide you to see what matters. It can stop you from chasing sparks and help you find the constellations. I left the link in the description. If you want, start where I did. With the free version, no rush, no pressure. Just explore. Play with it. Listen to what the patterns whisper, because maybe the next product you choose won't be a guess. Maybe it'll be the one your audience has been waiting for all along. And maybe that small shift from guessing to seeing will change more than just your dashboard. It might change the way you move through the noise of this world. The night is long. The zeros feel heavy. But if you've ever been like me, you know the silence doesn't last forever. One day, a ping arrives. A number replaces a zero. A star appears where the sky was empty. And that's enough to remind you you're not lost. You're just learning how to see.